She didn't leave me in a scream. She left me with a laugh. Stay with me for 1 minute. We were sitting on the edge of my couch. The same couch I bought secondhand and kept because it still did its job. The same couch she used to call sad beige. Her phone was in her hand, screen glowing, thumb scrolling like she was bored with the room and everything in it. I was talking about something simple, my open enrollment at work, the new health plan options, the fact that I could finally add dental without it hurting my paycheck. I remember being genuinely relieved. I remember thinking, this is good. This is progress. She looked up, made that little face like she'd tasted something bland, and said, "Do you hear yourself?" I paused. "What do you mean?" "You talk like an old man," she said, and she didn't even try to soften it. "Insurance, benefits, savings. You're so predictable. Predictable, like it was a sin." I laughed once, but it came out wrong. "I'm just being responsible." She shook her head. "No, you're being average. You're being boring. You're too comfortable. Too comfortable." That was her favorite accusation. Like my peace was an insult to her. We'd been together almost 3 years, long enough that I knew her patterns. She chased intensity the way some people chased caffeine. If the day didn't come with a thrill, she felt cheated. She wanted big energy, big plans, big risks, big stories she could tell at brunch. And I wasn't that story. I was the guy who paid his credit card in full, the guy who set a budget and actually followed it, the guy who checked the oil in his car before a road trip, the guy who didn't buy things just to post them. She used to say she admired it. Early on, she would lean into me after dinner and say, "I like that you're steady." But steady stopped sounding sexy to her. It started sounding like a warning label. That night, she leaned back and crossed her legs, the way she did when she was about to present an argument she'd practiced in her head. "Look at Mason," she said. There it was, the comparison, the shiny alternative. Mason was a friend of a friend who showed up to parties in designer sneakers and talked about moves and plays. He called himself an entrepreneur, but every time I asked what he actually did, it came back to vague answers about crypto, e-commerce, and investor circles. He rented cars he couldn't afford for weekends. He posted pictures from rooftops and private tables. He always had a new hustle and a new story. My girlfriend, back then, she still said "my boyfriend" with pride, watched him like he was a trailer for a better life. "He's building something," she said, like my job wasn't real life, like my paycheck didn't pay our rent, like stability wasn't building. I took a breath. "Mason also hasn't paid his taxes in 2 years. He told you that." She rolled her eyes. "That's what you always do. You find the risk and you kill the vibe." I sat there, calm on the outside because that's how I handle conflict. Inside, I felt something tightening, not anger, not jealousy, something else, a slow clarity. "I'm not killing anything," I said. "I'm just not interested in pretending chaos is ambition." She leaned forward, and her voice got sharp, like she wanted it to cut. "You're afraid. You hide behind your little routines like they're a personality." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't defend myself with desperation. I just looked at her and I said, "I like my routines. They protect me. They protect us." She laughed again, but this time it was colder. "Protect us from what? Living?" Then she delivered the phrase I still remember like it's printed on the inside of my skull. The detonating line. The one that defined everything. "I don't want a boyfriend," she said. "I want an upgrade." An upgrade. Like I was a phone she'd gotten tired of. Like my steadiness was outdated technology. Like my discipline was a limitation. The room went quiet in that way that happens when you realize you're watching the end of something and you can't rewind it. I waited a beat. I didn't beg. I didn't bargain. I didn't ask her to reconsider. I didn't list my good qualities like a resume. I just nodded once and said, "Then you should go." Her eyes widened, like she'd expected me to scramble, like she'd expected me to panic and prove I could be exciting. "What?" she said. "If you want an upgrade," I said, "you should go find one." She stared at me, and for a second, I saw confusion. Not because she didn't understand my words, but because she didn't recognize this version of me. The version that didn't chase. The version that didn't plead for approval. She stood up, grabbed her bag, and moved toward the door with the kind of dramatic energy she loved. "Fine," she said. "At least Mason lives. He takes risks. He doesn't settle." I didn't flinch. "I'm not settling," I said. "I'm choosing." That was the truth. I had made my choice long before she left. I chose a steady job, benefits, insurance, savings, routine. I chose predictability because I'd seen what the opposite did to people. My dad used to say, "Don't confuse noise with progress." He worked 40 years at the same company, not because he lacked imagination, but because he understood something most people learn too late. Stability is a foundation, not a cage. She slammed the door, and just like that, my apartment felt lighter. Not happier yet, just lighter, like a storm had walked out. For the next few weeks, I kept living my life the way I always had. I went to work. I hit the gym 3 days a week. I cooked simple meals. I tracked my spending. I put money into my emergency fund because I'd promised myself I'd never be one unexpected bill away from panic. And I didn't stalk her online. I didn't ask mutual friends for updates. I didn't do the thing people do when they lose someone and they want to keep losing themselves to it. But life has a way of delivering information anyway. I saw her on social media through someone else's story one night. She was in the back of a car, city lights streaking behind her, laughing with that open-mouthed happiness she used to aim at me. Mason was in the frame, wrist near the camera, flashing a watch that looked expensive enough to mean something. The caption said, "New chapter." I didn't feel jealous. I felt tired, like I'd just watched someone walk into a movie scene and call it real life. A month later, a coworker asked me if I'd heard about that guy Mason. Apparently, he'd been bragging at a bar about a new investment deal and how he was about to blow up. People like him always broadcast their highs like a warning sign. I said I didn't know, and I meant it. I was focused on my own life, my own goals, my own quiet, steady progress. Then the crisis hit. It didn't announce itself with drama. It showed up as a phone call at 2:14 a.m. from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. I usually don't. But something in me did. Maybe it was habit. Maybe it was intuition. Maybe it was the part of me that doesn't ignore signals. "Hello?" I said, voice rough with sleep. There was chaos on the line. Voices, cars, wind, someone crying. Then I heard her, my ex. Her voice sounded smaller than I remembered. Not sharp, not confident, not amused. "Please," she said. I didn't know who else to call. I sat up, instantly awake. What happened? She tried to speak, but her words fell apart. Someone in the background yelled something about an ambulance. "Mason," she choked out. He collapsed. My mind went still. "Where are you?" She gave me a location across town. A parking lot outside an urgent care that apparently had called for an ambulance because they couldn't handle whatever was happening. "I don't have my wallet," she said, voice trembling. "My phone's at 2%. He told me he had insurance. He said he had everything. He doesn't. They're asking for—" She broke off, breath hitching. "They're asking for payment. They won't tell me anything." I didn't ask why she called me. I didn't say, "You chose this." I didn't say, "Call Mason's family." I didn't even say, "Why are you calling your average ex in the middle of the night?" I just said, "I'm on my way." That's who I am. Calm, disciplined, rational. Not because I'm trying to be a hero, but because in a real emergency, emotions don't move the situation forward. Actions do. I put on clothes, grabbed my keys, grabbed my wallet, and left. The drive was quiet. Streets empty. Traffic lights blinking. My hands steady on the wheel. I remember thinking, this is what stability is for. Not to impress someone, not to feel superior, but to be useful when life gets real. When I got there, I saw her immediately. She was standing under a harsh parking lot light. Hair messy, mascara smudged, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold her body together. She looked up when my car pulled in, and her face crumpled with relief and shame at the same time. She rushed to me. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'm sorry. It's okay," I said, and I meant it in the only way that mattered in that moment. I wasn't here to punish her. I walked with her toward the building. A nurse at the front desk spoke in clipped phrases. "He's being transferred. We need his information, insurance, ID, payment on file." My ex looked helpless. Mason's phone was locked. His wallet wasn't in his pocket. There was no insurance card, no emergency contact list, no plan, just vibe, just risk, just the kind of ambition that looks good until you need it to do something. The nurse asked, "Are you family?" My ex opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She wasn't family. She was a girlfriend in a new chapter. A chapter that didn't come with paperwork. I stepped forward. "I'm here with her," I said. "What do you need right now?" They needed a deposit for the transfer. They needed signatures. They needed someone to be stable in a room full of panic. I paid the deposit without flinching because I had an emergency fund, because I'd been boring enough to build it, because I didn't live paycheck to paycheck chasing the appearance of wealth. We ended up at the hospital an hour later, waiting under fluorescent lights that made everyone look exhausted. The doctor finally came out and explained it in plain terms. Severe complications. Something that had been ignored. Something that had been treated with energy drinks and denial. Something that had turned into an emergency. Then the financial reality hit like a second wave. The doctor asked about insurance. The admin staff came with forms. The numbers were real, not abstract, not theoretical, real. Mason had none, no coverage, no plan, no safety net. My ex sat beside me, hands shaking, staring at the floor like she was seeing the consequences of her choices in high definition. "He said he was set," she whispered. "He said he had investors. He said he had money coming." I didn't say anything for a long time. Then I said softly, "People can say anything when it's just a story." She looked at me, eyes red. I didn't think. "I know," I said. "Most people don't think about the boring parts until the boring parts are the only thing that matters." The hours stretched. Nurses moved like machines. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and reality. At some point, her phone died. She didn't even notice. She was too busy watching the doors, waiting for someone to tell her whether the man she thought was an upgrade was going to survive the night. She leaned toward me, voice thin. Can you call my mom?" I nodded. I called. I handled it. I paid for coffee. I tracked the paperwork. I asked the right questions. I didn't do it to prove anything. I did it because I could, because my life was built for moments like this. And at dawn, when the sun started to lighten the edges of the sky, the doctor came back out. Mason was alive, but the words after that were heavy. He'd need time, treatment, follow-ups, real care, and the hospital wanted to know how they were going to handle the cost. My ex looked like she was going to fold in on herself. Then she turned to me, and I saw it, her mind rearranging itself. The realization, not in poetry, but in paperwork, in bills, in the cold language of consequences. You have insurance, she said, almost like a question. Yes, I said. And you have savings, she added. Yes. And you just handled all of this, she said, voice cracking. You didn't panic. You didn't make it worse. I stayed calm. That's what I do. She stared at me for a long time. Then she whispered, I was so stupid. I didn't respond with comfort that would blur the truth. I didn't respond with cruelty that would satisfy ego. I just let her feel it, because this wasn't a lesson I needed to teach. Life was already teaching it. A few days later, she came to my place to pick up the last of her things. A small box, a sweater, a framed photo she'd forgotten. She stood in my living room and looked around like she was seeing it for the first time. The beige couch, the clean counters, the quiet. You're still the same, she said, but her tone was different now. Not mocking, almost reverent. I told you, I said. I'm predictable. She swallowed. I thought predictable meant you weren't going anywhere. It means I'm here, I said. It means I build things that last. She put the box down and stepped closer. I miss this, she said. I miss you. I didn't move. I didn't step back either. I just held my ground. She searched my face like she expected to find a crack, like she expected the old version of me, the version that wanted to be chosen, to show up and grab her hand. I made a mistake, she said. I thought love was supposed to feel like a rise, like a glow-up, like a financial upgrade. She laughed weakly, ashamed. God, I actually said that. Yes, I said. Her eyes filled. Can we try again? I didn't answer immediately. I let the silence do its work, because I understood something now that I hadn't understood before. I wasn't hurt because she left. I was hurt because she treated steadiness like it was a defect, because she tried to make me feel small for building a life that could hold weight, and I couldn't unlearn what the hospital had shown us. I couldn't pretend I didn't see the difference between a lifestyle and a life. I'm not angry, I said finally. I'm not here to punish you, but I'm not going back. Her face tightened. Why? I kept my voice even. Because you didn't want me. You wanted what you thought I couldn't give you. I was wrong, she pleaded. You were wrong, I agreed. But you didn't just misjudge a man. You misjudged what matters. She wiped her face, frustrated now. So what? You're just going to be alone? I shook my head. No, I'm going to be free. She stared at me, and I could see it. The regret arriving late, like a train that didn't care who was waiting on the platform. She looked around again, like she was measuring the value of what she'd thrown away. Not with her eyes this time, but with her nervous system, with the part of her that had been terrified in a hospital waiting room. You really are safe, she whispered. I nodded once. I am. She picked up the box slowly, like it was heavier now. Then she paused at the door and turned back. I didn't know stability could feel like this, she said. I thought it was weakness. It's not weakness, I said. It's protection. She held my gaze for a second longer, like she wanted me to change my mind. I didn't. She left quietly, No slam this time. No dramatic exit. Just the sound of the door clicking shut and the room returning to stillness. After she was gone, I stood there for a moment, listening to the quiet I used to take for granted. I didn't feel like I'd won. There was no victory music, no revenge, no moment where I got to watch her suffer and feel satisfied. I just felt clear. Stability isn't a lack of courage. Discipline isn't fear. Predictability is protection. Some people only understand that when life stops playing and starts collecting. And when that day comes, the flashy stories don't help. The boring things do. I went back to my kitchen, poured a glass of water, and opened my calendar to plan my week. Same routines, same steady steps. Not because I couldn't dream bigger, because I finally understood that a life worth living doesn't need to look risky to be real. It needs to hold you when everything else falls apart.